Hey guys, welcome back to the JPM Performance channel. It is once again time for a shop tour. We are dead smack in the middle of November, November 14th. And the days are getting shorter and they're also getting colder. So it's November. We've actually had a really nice fall considering. It's still like in the 60s all this week. So next week looks like it's going to drop out. We'll see what happens. Lots of stuff to show you in the shop today. So let's get into our shop tour. So this is the differential out of Bill Miller's car. You're going to see that his car is gone because I'm waiting on some more parts. Although I should have had it done, except for, so this is kind of an interesting thing. So for those of you that haven't worked on German cars per se, the Germans just do everything different, right? They just do. They use different size wrenches, sockets. You know, they just do everything different. But this is pretty cool because so I got these new hubs, these bearing carriers is what they're called, and these go in the side of the case here, and then there's a multitude of these shims, right? So Bill actually got a ton of these shims. They probably, I'm sure they came with the car when he bought it from Bill Lampkin. Problem is we don't have the right shims. So out of all these shims that we have, we need the kit that is slightly smaller. So these things vary about a half a thou at a time. And so this sets your backlash side to side and also sets your bearing preload. So the way that it was set up, in my opinion, too much bearing preload and not enough backlash. So I got ready to set this all up. Sure enough, don't have the shims. So ordered yet another shim kit for BMW. So we'll be working on this. I don't think I'll have the shims till probably next week. We'll see. But a pretty cool deal. These are super heavy duty. It's a really nice deal, actually. So just waiting on shims. Now here's something interesting. You're going to have to come up real close on this one. So this is a CNC ported cylinder head. You can see the combustion chamber has completely been CNC'd. The intake side, this was all done, you know, on a CNC machine, obviously, computer aided, and even on the exhaust, it's just, I mean, it's just beautiful, right? I mean, you can get a really good look. So this is going into, obviously, a car that does not have porting limitations, but really nice job. So this is a 99 Miata that I'm building for a guy. It's going to be a turbo application, big power. We're going like all the way, right? So pretty darn cool. So that just came in. Pretty nice looking. Something else that just came in. So it's kind of weird. All of a sudden, so for years and years and years and years, we always had close ratio transmission issues with Miatas. Like you couldn't get gear sets. IMCO quit making them, and then Quaife was making them, and then it would take like 9 months to get a gear set from Quaife. Well, look at this. Another gear set. So this is for Stephen Clark. This just came in. I ordered this like 10 days ago. And I did another one just for Fred McConnell a month ago or whenever that was. We can get them all of a sudden. Now, they're expensive, right? So like these gear sets, by the time you get them shipped in and you pay the duties, it's like $4,500 just for the gear set. Then you have to build it, right? But still, it's a great close ratio option. From Quaife. It's really our only close ratio option right now, but for, like I said, for a long time we couldn't even get them, but now I'm getting them in like 10 days. It's amazing. I'm still kind of baffled by that. Now what you don't see on the bench are Steven's new shocks. That's because they are installed into the car. So front and rear shocks are in the car. The only thing I have left here is I'm working on all of the reservoir mounting, right? So you get these really nice shocks, and then you have to decide where you're going to put these reservoirs. So I'm going to end up mounting these rear ones here in the back of the trunk so you can access them easily. The front ones are a little trickier, but the adjustments are going to be easy to get to. MCS provided some really slick little mounts for those as well. Really happy about how that's going. So just finishing up the reservoir mounting, and we're going to be looking really good. The only thing I'm going to need for Steven's car after that is the engine. So you can see here that Bill's car's gone. So I've got this huge wide open area. You know why? Because the Camaro is going to be here this afternoon. So all of a sudden now we're going to have the GT1 Trans Am Camaro back into the shop. We've got a slew of things to do to the car, including a new engine that's coming in from a new engine builder that we're going to start using. But he did send me the old cylinder heads, and this is kind of some interesting stuff to look at. Also, so this is an SB2, so it's a 358, basically what the NASCAR guys ran back in the old days. Look at the size of these valves in this thing. There's an intake valve, and it's like, okay, so there's palm of my hand. Look how big that thing is. It's monster. And you can see that these have been ported drastically as well. So big porting. I was talking to this guy about this motor. So this is, you know, I'm so used to building limited prep engines. I was talking to this guy about this engine, and he was telling me that we're running like, you know, 15 something to 1 compression, 600 something thou valve lift. It's like no wonder these things can rev to like 9,000 RPMs and make 840 horsepower out of a 358. It's pretty incredible. So these cylinder heads here are really old and basically timed out. So we've got new cylinder heads coming on the new engine that you guys will get to see. We're hoping for some big power. We'll see what happens. Okay, Cameron Waldron's car. So last week you saw that the cylinder head was sitting on the side and everything was apart. So I got it all back together. Everything was fine, got it running, and it was like the water wasn't circulating. I'm like, I couldn't figure out what was going on. The back of the engine was super hot. The radiator was cold. And I'm like, what in the world is going on with this thing? Well, when they had blown the head gasket, they were trying some different things. And we had talked on the phone about this, but something that I just realized. So I found a couple of issues. So what they had done is they took the thermostat and gutted it. So this is something that we do sometimes in Miatas. If it's really hot outside, it lets the water flow. You don't have as much restriction. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to check two things. I had a little bit of a leak in the front of the engine, and I found that. So this is the thermostat housing, and you can see that the casting has basically failed right here. And what happened was the gasket slipped and fell into the housing. So these housings are super cheap. I've got one coming. I've got a brand new gasket sitting here. So that's one thing. But here's the next thing that I found. And once again, German engineering, right? They do a really good job, but there's something strange about this. So the radiator hoses both come into this housing at this level. But what's really interesting is the water pump, the water comes out of the radiator, comes into here, and then goes into the backside of the engine, right into the cylinder head right here, and then it goes down into the block, and then it comes through the back, out of the block, and comes out of here, right here, and then it goes into the bottom part of the radiator. But you see this hole right here? This thermostat has a spring-loaded detent, and when this goes in there, it sits up against that hole. And what that does is that prevents the water, because I can touch fingers right here. So what's been happening is it's been coming out of the top of the radiator and coming straight back this way. So it has not been circulating water through the engine. It's only circulating water basically through the radiator. I'm like, mind blown, right? I'm like, I couldn't believe what was going on here. Did a little research, sure enough. You pull these out, or if you gut them like this, it doesn't work. So what's going on is your engine's getting hot, and you don't even realize it. So first I pulled the water pump out because I'm thinking maybe the impeller fell off the water pump or something. No, it was fine. So waiting on a thermostat housing, and we're going to be able to get this back together. I think we're going to be a-okay, but once again delayed, just like the differential over there. So just interesting stuff, right? I had a couple people ask about my under the hood light, and I actually posted a link to those questions just a couple days ago. So I just got it on Amazon. There's a link to it on last week's shop tour. But this thing, wow, this thing is like, look at the difference. No light, boom. I mean, this is already a game changer. So pretty excited about that. Mazda 2 update. Always working, always working, always working. So I ended up taking out the stock fuel lines from under the car. If you've ever done this, and I've never done that, never done it before, they've got these plastic clips and the brake lines run through there and the fuel lines run through there. So you know what's going to happen when you pull these plastic clips down, they're going to break. So what I did is I took my nippers and I cut the steel line out in sections, both going to the engine and coming back. So I've got all of the fuel lines out from under the car. Actually got a picture. It's not here yet. It'll probably show up in like an hour. Got a picture from Joe McClugan of my new rocker, that piece that he's sending me. So we'll definitely have that next week to show you. And I also got the fuel cell completely done. But guess what else came this week? So a shout out to SCCA. I've said this for the last bunch of years, you know, when I've been lucky enough to win these things. But look at these trophies that you get when you go to the runoffs and do well. So the first place trophy is bigger than second and third, but not by a ton. And they're just beautiful. But, you know, to give you an idea of how big this trophy is, I mean, look at that. So I'm going to set it right here at my buckle, and it's just up to my chin. These things are huge. So beautiful job by SCCA coming up with these trophies. Yeah, it was a great season, right? This is the culmination. Back to English class. Culmination of the season, and take this up to the house because we are back working on the car for 2025. So you can see I've got the case for the fuel cell all cleaned up inside and out. We had talked about the fuel cell foam last week, but also when you pull your cell out and you're cleaning it all up, one little pebble can ruin your cell. So right before you slide this into your case, make sure that it is super clean, no rocks, no grit, no debris, because what will happen is it'll rub, and it'll rub right through your cell. So this is now ready to go. Working on, now I'm going to get back into running the fuel lines. Actually, I'm going to fix the fuel cell mounting next. So we've got welding to do, we've got rocker work to do, and then we've got fuel cell mounting to do, because that's going to be the next thing that we're going to work on. So that's our shop tour for the week, guys. I appreciate you watching as always. We're going to keep pushing forward, and of course, like I said, next week we'll have the Camaro here and we'll start digging into that, and I've got a list of things to do. We're going to try and make it to Sebring if the engine shows up in time. Big question mark, I think. You know, engine builders, I'm one of them. But it can be tricky this time of year. Lots of demand, lots of people wanting stuff, so I get it. So we're going to get it when we get it. You guys will get to see that whole process. So like I said, thanks for watching. Have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you next week. Take care.